Welcome to the Aim for Success podcast. I'm Joni Neidigh, a licensed psychotherapist and certified clinical hypnotist and trainer. I'm also the founder of Aim for Success and Joni Neidigh Hypnosis. I've been practicing for over 27 years, and I'm excited about sharing my experiences and those of my guests. Be sure and check out my websites, aim-for-success.com and JoniNeidighHypnosis.com to learn more about my services and products. I also invite you to check out my store, aim-store.net. As a gift to you for listening to this podcast, use the code SUCCESS to receive 25% off your first self-hypnosis audio purchase. You are listening to episode 7 of the Aim for Success podcast featuring Marc Miro. Marc is an entrepreneur, hypnotist, and executive life coach who recently joined me for a presentation at Hypnothoughts Live 2019 in Las Vegas. Marc is from Barcelona, Spain, and he has a passion along with a wide range of experience working with athletes. His goal, along with mine, is to help them make impactful changes in their sport and in their lives. Listen as we talk about how we've joined forces to work with athletes, teams, and coaches worldwide to help them get better and be better. So welcome everyone to the podcast. I have been looking forward to this episode for quite some time. It's been a really, really busy year, which is always a great thing. It means that we're moving forward, which my next guest, the one I'm about to introduce to you, knows about so well. That is his theme. And I actually borrowed that not only in my work, but in my mind. I borrowed that concept a while back, and we'll talk more about how we got started as friends and now colleagues. And I've been using that ever since. So moving forward, in this podcast, I would like to introduce you to Marc Miro. Can you tell us some things about yourself? I'm so excited to have you on here.
Hello, Joni. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Right now I'm in Colombia, so we are far away, but it seems so close, I can hear you and see you so well. So Let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm originally from Barcelona, Spain. I came to the US as a student athlete, and I completed my studies, my college and graduate studies in engineering and business. And I started to work with athletes during college. I was an athlete, but I started working with, in the summer leagues and individually with kids to help them. It was something natural on me. Then I have worked on high performance, on the topic of high performance for around 20 years. If we put together business and sports, so all my life has been about how to get better. There is no other thing that I know. That's the thing that I know the best, how to get better. As a foreigner coming, to the US, different language, different way of thinking. Now I'm American, so I think in various different ways, European, American. And so I had 20 years of experience on high performance. I'm a certified personal and executive coach, emotional intelligence trainer, and certified on sports hypnosis. That's very exciting. I'm very excited. Right now, my big focus is on working with Spanish-speaking clients. And right now, today, I am in my office in Bogota, Colombia. I'll be back in the US in a couple of weeks. I'm very excited of using all this knowledge that you and we have developed, implemented, and you have done very well successfully with athletes, and bring it to South America, Latin America, US, US Spanish-speaking athletes. So I'm very excited. Now, why do I do what I do? We talk about, this is what I call the paper, Marc Miro, the things that I am. But why do I do what I do? That I think is important to know. We have talked about that because to be successful, you have to want to do something. You have to have that desire more than the knowledge.
Yes.
So it's the reason that I do what I do is because my own experience as an athlete. I was that athlete that had the potential. Everybody thought, but then I had my own issues in managing my mental game. So I'm very passionate of helping others, athletes, to become successful, to be able to manage the mental game. So that's Marc Miro in a nutshell.
Yes, and it really is in a nutshell, because there's so much more to you than that. But those are really great things that you pointed out, and I appreciate that. As you were speaking, a couple of things that I love that represent who you are so well is, and myself. That's why I think we're so similar. Is you mentioned that you were sitting in your office, and this is a Sunday, and so we're always working and always moving forward, and we actually chatted about this recently. That doesn't mean that we don't have any balance. It simply means that we have passion. And whenever you're doing something that you're passionate about, it doesn't feel like work, does it?
Exactly. No,
yes. Another thing that I heard you say was that it comes natural to you working with athletes. And it does make sense that this connection that you have from a corporate perspective, the business background that you have, which has been fabulous. I followed your newsletters and your talks for a long time. I anticipated those with great anticipation because I knew that they were always going to help me.
I think that you touched something very important. That is that, maybe it has passed 10, 15 years, 20 since, being an athlete. Mm-hmm. But you still, and there's so many tools there more than before, but still the awareness is not as big as it should be. So our job one of the things that we're trying to accomplish is to create that awareness of the need of the tools. Mm-hmm. Because you and I, we have seen so many great athletes for years, being ready to compete, being ready to give the best, being ready to achieve something that not that many people will be able to achieve, and then they get to that moment. And some they do, they achieve that, some of them for whatever reason. And we know the reason. We know that 80 to 90% in a competition is mental, psychological. And then the 10% to 20% is physical, because you're already trained, you are ready. All these great athletes are ready, but that's it. That is the little thing, that mechanism that suddenly clicks or doesn't click. So I think that you're right. I'm saying there's so many tools, but there needs to be awareness of those tools.
And that is what we are doing, is that we want to bring this awareness, and we're very passionate about it. And you mentioned Spanish. I really appreciate that you're converting like some of my products for soccer. We've done that, is finished, complete.
Yes.
And we're ready to talk to the wonderful people from the Wellness Universe at Soccer X about those now. And something that I told them that we were going to do, and I'm excited to tell them that we've completed that and see what else they might need. But that's going to be really, really great. And I appreciate you doing that with me. I immediately thought of you as I was standing there in Marlins Park in that stadium. I thought, and I was asked several times, do you have these products in Spanish? Or, I was trying to communicate. So you and I met during the time that my girls were training at the Bowl School. Yes. And your brother, Sergio, was the head coach at the time. He was also an Olympic athlete, medalist. It was a great opportunity we were getting together and meeting, and putting our minds together to create what's going on right now many years ago. And I think that went back as far back as 2009. It's a process. And I believe all great programs, these things evolve over time. And you and I have been learning and changing things up, and learning from the athletes, the coaches, and the parents. I've learned a lot from officials, because we've been in the environment. And so it's not, we've just been reading and going to classes and adding techniques, but we've been out there seeking the information and also the needs. What are the actual needs? And so
I think that one of the points, now that you point this, because it's critical, when you do something, it's not just about the theoretical part, it's about the experience. And you and I, we have been very adamant of going to events, even competitions, and just being there, observing. I remember when we used to talk, what do you see, what I see? And I think at the end of the day, that's how you really learn to connect the reality, because one thing is just to talk about something, another one is to be able to see it, experience, and then transfer what you know to the athletes. And I think that's key. That's very key.
But going back to that time, you were actually given an opportunity to work with athletes in a limited number of athletes, but top athletes in that setting at the Bowl School. And through that experience, so you brought in your corporate experience at that time, and then we were meeting and we adding some like cognitive distortions. And so it's just a great sort of a merging of ideas that actually worked very, very well with those athletes. Some of those athletes included both my daughters, Ryan Murphy. Do you remember some of the other athletes?
Well, we had Joseph Schooling.
Yes.
Them, and the amazing thing about working with these athletes, because your daughters were there.
Yes.
We had other athletes, is that regardless of where they were, we could see a change.
Yes.
And they were in an age that they really were absorbing things where you can influence very much.
Yes.
Way of thinking. So as I saw them, like Ryan, was in the program then with Joseph, work individually.
I believe Patrick Murphy was in that program.
Yeah, Patrick Murphy did a great job.
He's working for USA Swimming now.
Yes, Patrick did an amazing job. He was really into it.
Yes.
I remember, you can see these athletes that they really want to, and that's the difference.
Yes.
As they went to the program, you could see that some of them they change. And the idea is that as you help them, as we help them to transform, you want to maintain that knowledge or that momentum in anything that they do. So at the end of the day, our job, what we have done is provide tools not only for swimming, but for life.
Yes.
So it's beautiful to see swimmers, athletes like Ryan, Patrick, Joseph, your daughters, other swimmers, moving forward and seeing what they have achieved. And maybe think that some of those tools were still in their minds, way of thinking, and help them in one way or another one. I'm sure that now we were able to talk, we talked to them, but able to talk more in depth. They could probably relate some of the things that they saw or learned to what they're doing right now.
I think we should do just that. I think we should try to arrange some kind of a group podcast. I think that would be great. So let's talk about hypnosis.
Okay.
And I'm so excited about you moving forward in this field and having this as absolutely one of your best tools to use. I've already seen you in action in my office. I've seen you presented at the largest international hypnosis convention in the world, Hypno Thoughts, and that was 2019. We presented together, and I thought that went very well.
Great experience.
You've gotten off to a great start, I would say, and you belong there. That is, that's why we expect to be at a high level, and we are, and that is exactly how we train the athletes, right?
Yes. Going back to that great event, and what I have absorb, learn, and absorb. What is the word? Interiorize. Like made
internalized.
Made it mine is that. You see, all these years, I work with executives. I have worked with athletes. I work with people that want to move forward, and we have methodologies. Like coaching is a process. I call it like a dance. Coaching has a process, but it's inside the process is a dance.
Yes.
You have emotional intelligence. You have where you learn about creating awareness of how you feel and the impact of your actions due to the emotions and in the impact in your relationship with others. But at the end of the day, what you try to do is create a change, impactful change, and that's going to last. And for me, having learned about psychology, neuroscience, that is my passion too, neuroscience.
Yes.
And learning about all this, when I got into the hypnosis, that I didn't know that much, I tried to understand that everything that I was doing needed to go through that channel. Why? Well, when you do emotional intelligence, when you work in coaching, you're trying to change the mind. You're trying to create new state of mind, new ways of thinking, but sometimes it becomes very difficult. It's a long process. With hypnosis, allows you to remove the filter, the conscious filter that you have as a human being. It's part of your nature, and allows you for a moment place a suggestion, your suggestion of something that you really want to change or become or do. And it's amazing how through the process, this change becomes faster and becomes more automatic. That's part of the subconscious mind. So for me, it was like amazing. And then I realized that all the books that I was reading, remember I talked to you about it, they talk about hypnosis, but I never really saw the word so much until I got into the hypnosis. So it was perfect for me. I think it's a great tool. And people, they don't know that much, especially in the sports world, even though it has been used, you did a presentation about that by great athletes. Right. Politicians, they use it. Artists, they use it. So it's a tool that has a lot of potential,
It's interesting when you said, you'd read all these books and all this, and you now realize, a lot of it was hypnosis, but they didn't use the word. I think the word hypnosis scares many people. And I think, I've heard this many podcasts and many people say that they attribute that to Hollywood and the movies and all of that. And I think part of that is true. But I just think also they don't really understand what it is. It's a word that just represents the way the brain works. And, it represents using a part of your brain that is necessary to make those lasting changes. And so whatever you call it, the work is really important. But my hope is that people like you and me, and certainly our colleagues and other people will be able to break through even more. But it's right now. You're right. So many athletes have used it, and I mentioned a lot of those successful athletes, top athletes, and they love that it's a secret, actually. And that is the part of our work is that we can't always talk about our clients. Some of them don't mind sharing, and some do because they want it to be a secret weapon, so to speak. They want it to be an edge. I know that you've probably run into this issue as well, that as soon as you mention hypnosis, there's a big no. There can be that resistance. It
can be a challenge.
Yes.
There are people that are very curious about what it is.
Yes.
And other people, they already have a mind frame that, denies or doesn't allow that, that word or that thought to come in. Now, as we all know, hypnosis is something that we do automatically every day. It's part of the human being.
Yes.
So I think that's the message, is try to relate that message that regardless if you want to call it hypnosis or whatever you want to call it, we do that every day. It happens in our life automatically when we drive and we don't know how we got there. That's hypnosis. Your mind was in another place. You were thinking, but your body was able to drive without even thinking. So that's hypnosis. Now, you don't call it that way, but it happens every day. So if you're able to internalize that is a mechanism that you have that allows you to improve your life, improve yourself, improve your skills, then it's even better. You already have it. You just have to use it.
Actually sad to me when I see that this training isn't in place, and I see athletes come in and they work so hard, and they're just technically, their coaches are brilliant. They teach them these wonderful technical skills, and they teach them they're physically fit, they're athletes, and then the athletes fall apart when it comes down to showtime because they're not using the right part of the brain. So I'm certainly never going to exclude this wonderful tool, this hypnosis, when I know that it works, and I've seen it work so many times for so long now. I'm indifferent.
It's amazing the experience. So the being able to experience different cultures,
Yes.
and different athletes and different situations. It could be athletes or business, and trying and applying these concepts and being able to have people understand that from another point of view, maybe another words, and being able to apply it and seeing the changes, the quick changes that happen. So to me, it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to have the chance, because also our background, it's perfect to be able to present, and people allow us to do what we do. So very, very exciting. There's so much opportunity there to help people.
It's so true. And I love that we can do this in massive groups. We can go to these camps with, sometimes hundreds of athletes and do this kind of work, team talks. My team talks, and you know this as well, because you're going to be doing the same. When I say team talk, because I'm doing some conferences coming up about team talks, it's not about one team talk and going in. That's important. I think that your first team talk is the most important, and going in and demonstrating the power of our minds, how wonderful that is. But just how do you actually use, again, the right part of the brain. But to do it and continue that and have specific areas to work on with consecutive talks. I think that's important. And so I have about 14 different team talks that I do. That way I can, the relationship doesn't end with a team or a coach. And a team can be anything. It can be an athletic team. It can be a group of teachers. It can be
coaches.
It can be coaches, for sure. Parents. It can be any group that needs that cohesiveness. And actually, if a group has a goal, a common goal, that cohesiveness is essential.
Sure.
And so,
well, there has to be a goal. At the end of the day, a great team, great organization has to have what we call the main goal. So every action, every thought has to be focused on that.
Yes.
And tying that to what you said, and I think it's important because you mentioned that in the beginning of the podcast, is that this is a process. We all look for very effective and quick solutions, but it's a process. And the process is not just doing it, it's learning, because you have to internalize the knowledge. So what we do, we allow, with our knowledge, with the practice, because we are very practitioners, we bring tools.
Yes.
Is that with each talk that you do, each session, you internalize more until it becomes part of who you are. So at the end of the day, yes, you have shown that you can bring tools in the moment when, swimmers, athletes, anyone calls you and say, hey, I have a trouble I'm in a competition right now, I need help. You have done that, but at the end of the day, you have trained them before, you have talked to them to create that trust and to create that knowledge that allows them in 5 minutes to be ready to compete. And at the end, and that's what the coaches and teams and parents and athletes need to know, is that it's a process. But if you follow the process, it changes. And if you believe and you trust the process, the changes can become pretty quick.
Athletes, especially, they're, again, my phrase, time poor. They're extremely time poor. So the fact that we can reach them this way, over the computer, and they don't have to physically go somewhere and add up all the time that it takes to transport an athlete somewhere or bring themselves. It's just incredible. It doesn't take long. We don't have to spend an hour as we do in traditional therapy or, using some of the other methods. And I know that the athletes, coaches, and parents really appreciate that. So just for example, at the Hypnosis conference back in August, we taught a technique called the layering technique.
Yes.
And so you had a unique experience in that you were the subject, quote subject.
I was the athlete.
So how was that for you? How do you feel that technique, that layering technique, that's something that I've developed as a result of my combining psychotherapy with hypnosis to get to the root of, not necessarily the root, but the place that we need to begin working.
Sure. And when you presented that tool to me, and then when we did it together, I could see a match between my way of thinking and what you develop. Because in business, we have the 5 whys. It's a Socratic method that you use to peel each layer of the onion, as you mentioned. You go to each layer and understanding what's going on in the situation until you find what you believe could be the root cause of the problem or the issue.
Yes.
And you start working from that. So what I love about the process is that you peel in the onion, and each layer you're finding something new. Because many times, as you say, many methods work from the surface. So when you work from the surface, you really don't find a solution. It may work once, but at the end of the day, whatever is under the layers may come back and create an effect. So that methodology is great, because as you go down, you discover, the ways of thinking. What is tying the top challenge or the top thought, way of thinking, or internal dialogue to another one, until you get to what you believe is the root cause. Let's call it root cause, where you can start working, and then you come back up. And I think that's the great thing about this methodology. You just don't find the root cause. You start working the way up. Remember, like the ladder?
Yes.
You start working and say, okay, let me question this thought. Why am I saying this? How can I neutralize that thought? Cognitive distortion, what can I say to really challenge that thought and leave that layer clean, and then go to the next one until you go to the top. And when you get to the top, your energy, your feelings and emotions have to be totally different. And you should be able to find that situation or think about the situation again and be able to feel okay. Even if you may feel some emotion, but you may be able to, you'll be able to think about it differently, and will allow you to act differently, to allow you to perform in the way that you want to perform. So for me, it was like, wow. I think for the people there too, because we had a full room. Actually, it was very exciting because it was a huge event, great speakers with a lot of years of knowledge, and our room was full. People wanted to know about sports, hypnosis, and they were very excited. Once we finished, I remember people asking about the methodology and about what you were doing. So to me, it was a great experience, great method that could be related even to business, leadership, things like that.
Well, we want to fill those rooms even more at some of these upcoming conferences, because we really do want to reach the people and get them to use these techniques and start working with athletes, because the athletes need them.
Well, at the end of the day, they were able to see something that they never saw before.
Yes.
A great technique in some areas that many people don't know. And they probably could, translate that technique to other areas and use it. So.
Yeah, just to kind of put some closure to this, is I'm going to be doing a video explaining this layering technique in more detail, because I want especially hypnotherapists to see that there is a difference between doing a normal regression and doing something this way. Is there anything you want to add or want people to know? I would think maybe they might be curious as to what hypnosis felt like for you when you were first hypnotized.
Well, to me, it felt like yoga. Let me explain that. I used to practice yoga in this center, very hardcore. In the beginning, it's hard, but once you start learning, you start to relax and go into very deep relaxation that we call trance. So when I did hypnosis, when I got hypnotized, I felt the same way. I felt going down to relax mode to a place that I felt very good.
Yes.
So really it's nothing more than being able to allow yourself to relax as much as you can, body and mind, and allow yourself to get the message that you want to implant or leave later on in your life. So for me, it was a great experience. Nothing strange. I was conscious. Nobody was, managing my mind and me knowing,
Yes.
doing,
Yeah, that's an important point.
Exactly. People think that they can do whatever they want with you, and that's not true. You are conscious of what's going on. If they say something strange, and that's important because my language, my first language, main language is Spanish. So if this is something that doesn't go with me in English,
yes,
my mind doesn't. Hypnosis, you have to be able to use simple words, things that flow, because if you tell me a word that I don't understand, my mind is going to be like, what? And then it's hard for me to follow the process. So hypnosis felt good, it was good, and I could feel the effects of it. So I have used it before for myself as a personal tool, and it has helped me a lot through these years to create a new life in business,
yes,
in personal life. So I know it works. So it feels amazing.
I think a perfect way to end this podcast would be for you to share your wonderful Spanish accent and skill and say something about hypnosis or anything you want in Spanish, but be sure and let us know what it is.
Hola a todos, espero que se encuentren muy bien. Me gustaría hablarles un poquito de hipnosis, realmente lo que es. Hipnosis es un tipo de relajamiento, es entrar en una fase de relajamiento profunda, una fase muy profunda que le llamamos trance. La hipnosis es algo que se practica de manera diaria sin darnos cuenta. Por ejemplo, cuando conducimos, ¿no? Cuando empezamos a conducir o a ir en bicicleta, es algo que no conocemos, es algo que nos cuesta. Pero después de un tiempo, con la práctica, se vuelve algo natural en nosotros. Llega un momento en que estamos conduciendo por una carretera autopista y estamos pensando en otras cosas y llegamos al punto final donde queríamos llegar y nos damos cuenta de que no hemos parado atención a la carretera, pero sin embargo el cuerpo ha hecho lo que tenía que hacer. Eso es un estado de hipnosis. Por lo tanto, si somos conscientes de eso y entendemos que a través de practicar, de relajarnos y practicar y dejar que ciertos mensajes positivos lleguen a nuestro subconsciente, estos se volverán parte de quién somos. Y eventualmente podemos transformar nosotros y transformar lo que queramos y conseguir las metas que buscamos. Bueno, espero que les haya ayudado. Podría hablar mucho más de este tema, pero voy a ser breve en estos momentos. Okay, Joni.
Okay, so I feel like I'm in a trance because you have a wonderful voice. So I can't wait for people to hear your recordings because it sounds amazing. I have no idea what you were saying, but it was. Are you going to give us a summary?
Well, the summary is just say hello, and I just wanted to talk about hypnosis, and I explain a little bit about how hypnosis is part of our daily lives.
Great.
How we learn how to drive a car or ride a bicycle. In the beginning is hard.
Yes.
And eventually through practice, becomes part of us. So hypnosis is similar or the same way. Now, we accelerate the learning by relaxing and allowing that message to become part of us. And if we understand that, become aware of that process or mechanism, we'll be able to use hypnosis to really maximize who we are and achieve our goals.
Well, it's a fabulous message, fabulous. And I am excited to see in the comments if anyone listened and understood as you were saying that. That would be exciting to see. So thank you.
I hope that my Spanish accent, the doesn't get them off.
I think it's great. I just want to say thank you so much for doing this podcast. I'm looking forward to doing more projects together and letting people know what it is we're up to, because every time we talk, we think of more. And that's what I love. That's good energy. And
very good energy. Very good.
And that's what I hope we're sending out to all of you that are either watching live or you'll be watching it as a replay. And just look for us to be doing more, because we'll be what, as you say it, would you like to say it?
Let's keep moving forward. And in Spanish, continuemos avanzando. Thank you very much, Joni, for having me here for this great talk.